There's an expression from home, I don't know if you have it here, but for people that are unnerving, that kind of unnerve you in their demeanor. If you say somebody's too sweet to be savory, I don't know if that's an expression here, but when you're kind of put off by somebody's outward sweetness. But the song as an idea was kind of an alternative for the circle of gluttony on the record, and it's sort of just, it's a voice that just indulges, that enjoys overindulging, and rejects discipline all too much, and rejects a person on the basis that they just have their life just that little bit too put together, if that makes sense. So I wrote Wildflower and Barley back in, like, at some point during the pandemic, as this, to at least to name or credit like the experience of streets being empty in cities, and feeling I lived in the countryside and I lived alone, so that sense of being away from other people, and so the song lyrically just reflects on that. And I wrote it as a duet and recorded it with wonderful Alison Russell, who is a dear friend, incredible artist. The song is, there's kind of references Wildflower and Barley. Barley is, there's a long history of barley as a symbol of something that regenerates in Ireland. It was a kind of a revolutionary symbol for a time, for that which underneath the ground gives life to something above ground that cannot be stopped. I think that the first idea, sun coming up on the dream come around 100 years from the empire now. 2022 marked about 100 years of an Irish Free State, and I was just reflecting on all of the issues that are yet to really be solved. I was just trying to create this kind of nightmarish picture of a world, or the world as we know it, but just kind of paint a rather grotesque painting of it, that the dead are disturbed and are living and are rising. So the martyrs under the ground are so upset that they're spinning at such a rate in their graves, as people turning in their graves. They're spinning so fast that it's causing the earth to begin to shake, and it becomes a problem. And how that problem is dealt with in some fantastic ways, that they're just hooked up to generators and used as a source of power. Farewell, jokingly, obviously the term like farewell is in goodbye, but then maybe we use this term a bit at home a bit more. Maybe it's a bit more archaic sounding over here, but to say somebody wouldn't fare well in doing something, they wouldn't do well. If they tried, I wouldn't fare too well in doing XYZ. So in this, it was kind of just playing with those two words. I wouldn't fare well. I couldn't fare well. Like a hedgehog under a van wheel type of wouldn't fare well. Out here trying to feel good again. Yeah. I'll take any high, any glazing of the eye, any solitary pleasure that was sorrow in disguise. Let the sun only shine on me through a falling sky. I'll be all right. So this was very nearly a song for the ascent, for coming out. I remember arriving home after the tour, and I met a local man, and I hadn't seen him in a few years. I hadn't been home in a few years, and I'm sure it's an expression that's over here as well too. I just asked him how he'd been, and Kennedy kind of put his hands together, went, and he just took a moment. He went, above the ground, thank God. And that was just how it was his way of saying how he'd been. So this idea of just being above the ground, I was just like, oh my God, that's so Wicklow. And I loved the way he said it. I loved everything about it, and those words stuck in my mind. So it was a potential for the kind of ascent song, which became First Light on the record. This nearly sat in its place.